the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Now I lay me down to sleep. Pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, VJ, my best friend, right through it all, VJ. If I die before I wake,
That was unexpected. I didn't tell it to do that. It did it all by itself. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jake Johnson, and you're watching Untethered Live. This is The Deep End. It's Sunday night, 8 o'clock. That means it's Old Testament night. We're going to get under some Old Testament. We're going to go in Judges, chapter 1, verse 7. Kevin, what's happening, brother? Good to see you, my friend. Now my computer is doing things without my permission. I didn't tell it to play that song. It just did it because it wanted to. It's trying to tell me something. Nice hot cup of coffee to start the night off. How's everybody doing? How are you doing, Mr. Kev? How's the week treating you? I know you've been on trial. Have you gotten through that? Or are you still in the thick of it? Man, that's good coffee. Makes my toes tingle. Love it. We got a good show for you tonight. We're going to cover some ground rules, some things that this country and this world at large have been based upon since the beginning of the old times, and that would be after the flood. Back at home, great to be here. I bet it is. I know it sucks every time I leave home. I am a home boy. I like being at home. I don't like being anywhere else. At least I hadn't found anywhere else I like being. Just feels weird. Like I know where everything's at here. I know if I want something, I know where to get it. I don't need anything here. I'm protected here. Somebody busts in my door, I'll blast them. Can't do that in the wild. The trial is done. My client lost. He will listen to your podcast in 2028. Well, you should have been a better lawyer. Or was he guilty? Sometimes that happens, though, I understand. Sometimes the prosecution just has an airtight case. There's nothing you can do. But there's other times where you sit there like a lump on a log and don't even object when they say outlandish things. And you're not that kind of lawyer, are you? I had one of those. I kind of needed somebody on my side, and he wasn't it. But he was one of those public defender types. If I was paying him, I probably would have shot him afterwards. But I know you did what you could do. And sometimes people are just bastards. They're just bad people. I get that. Not always, though. But as long as you can sleep at night knowing that you did the best job you could do, it does not matter if he won or lost, you did right by your client. Now, if you knew about things that you could do and didn't do it, that'd be a different story, but I don't think you're that kind of guy. You strike me as the kind that fights hard for what you believe in. And I'm with you 100%. I'm the same way. Anyway, I apologize for the loss. I know that burns. But tonight, we're going to talk about laws. Those very laws that you were usurping were set up based on principles that came out of this book that we're going to read tonight, among other things. Moses set a pretty good system in order right off the bat. He knew exactly what the world needed, and he set it up to function in that way. And we've been copying it more or less ever since. Now, in modern times, it's kind of flipped on its head, and people have looked for loopholes and found ways around things, and, twisted laws and bent rules and try to get things to work in their favor. And that's not exactly what Moses had in mind. But for the most part, the basic structure of our law system is in place and has always been in place since Moses put it down in one fashion or another. The Magna Carta, the Constitution, you name it, it's all based on Moses' law. And why? Because it was a good law and it made sense. And nobody's thought of any better way to do things. So it just stuck. Let's see how we're doing on the folks. Oh, we got a few people here. And it says, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth streaming such as viewers will experience. Well, I'm sorry about that. I can't seem to do anything about that. I do understand what the problem is, though. This is something I just learned yesterday. I did not know this on Friday when we were having such issues, but we're having a solar maximus right now. We're having solar flares. And I assume that's what's causing the issues, because I've never had these issues on a regular basis before until now. So if you happen to be experiencing a skip, just leave a comment. Let me know that it's skipping, and just wait. When the podcast is finished and it uploads to YouTube, it will play smoothly. Uh-oh. It's a sports update with Kevin Cobbs. The Rays lost today. Red Sox won. Rays down by 1 in the standings. I guess that means that the Red Sox are on top. But go Rays! We support those Rays even if they don't win. Right? I don't know because I don't watch sports, but I'm just taking your word for it. But that's a good sports update. Kevin's the man. He lets us know what to plan. We got 3 people in. Hello, third person. Where's April at tonight? Is she with you? Yeah. I think it's time we get on to it. You got it right. That's right. All right. Gonna go to the small screen, please. Thank you, sir. And can I have some words, please? Thank you, sir. This is the book of Judges. If you have your Bibles handy, we're going to go to the book of Judges, chapter 1, verse 7. And we have been talking about a guy named Adonibezek. That's it, Adonibezek. And he was captured, and they cut off his thumbs and his big toes, I guess to make sure he didn't forget who he was and who they were. Joshua, our great champion, has died, and the Israelites are moving on with their lives, trying to get by without Joshua, because he was a big part of their lives. And that's where we pick up. And Adonibezek said, 70 kings have their thumbs and their great toes cut off, gathered their meat under my table, as I have done, so God hath requited me. or ask it of me. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and there he died. Well, he must have been old, because I don't think losing your toes and your fingers will cause you to die. That's a great loss, but it's not a loss to death unless he bled to death. I don't think that's possible from that injury. So he must have been old. Now the children of Judah had fought against Jerusalem and had taken it and smitten it with the edge of the sword and set the city on fire. This is one of the many times that Jerusalem has fallen. And if you go look at some archaeological information about Jerusalem, you'll find out that it's basically a city built on top of a city, built on top of a city, built on top of a city. They're just wherever the ruins, that's where they built on top of that. They didn't bother cleaning it out. They just built over it. So there's all kinds of catacombs and little nooks and crannies down underneath Jerusalem of today, where each layer you go down, you go to a different era of time. And that's why it's so easy to find things, because it's all laid out just like that. You just have to go digging and look. And afterwards, the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites again, that dwelt in the mountain and in the south and in the valley. Them Canaanites were hard to get rid of. And Judah went against the Canaanites and dwelt in Hebron. Now the name of Hebron was before Kirjath-Arba. It's the same place. I mean, we've talked about this last podcast. It's got like 3 different names, but we're talking about the same location, Hebron. And they slew Sheshai and Ahiman and Talmai. There's 3 different leaders of those little regions. And from thence he went against the inhabitants of Debir, and the name of Debir was before Kirjath-Sepher. So this Kirjath is like a suffix almost. It's it doesn't really affect the name of the place, but it's like adding to the name of the place. It's hard to explain their language, but the way they go about things is hierarchical. So when they add a suffix to something, it's like elevating the status of it. And Caleb said, He that smiteth Kirjath-Sepher and taketh it, to him will I give Akash, or Aksha, whatever that word is. Aksha. That's hard to say. Aksha, my daughter to wife. Well, no wonder you're giving her away. You can't even pronounce her name. Jesus. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it. Wouldn't that make her his cousin? I don't know. And he gave him Aksah, his daughter, to wife. And it came to pass, when she came to him, that she moved him to ask of her father a field, and she lighted from off her ass. You got to get her off her ass somehow. And Caleb said unto her, What wilt thou? What are you going to do here? And she said unto him, Give me a blessing, for thou hast given me a south land. Give me also springs of water. Not a little needy is she? And Caleb gave her the upper springs and the nether springs. So she got all the springs. So, I guess that's one way to do it. So even back then they were gold diggers, or in this case, water diggers. And the children of the Kenite, Moses' father-in-law, went up out of the city of palm trees with the children of Judah into the wilderness of Judah. That's the people and the place. The children of Judah are the people, and the wilderness of Judah is the place. Don't get those two confused. Which lieth in the south of Arad. And they went and dwelt among the people. Now, one thing I want you to understand, that these children here of the Kenites, these are descendants of the man Cain, who was Abel's brother, Adam's son, or actually the devil's son. Anytime you see this word Kenite, which is different than Canaanite, don't get those two confused. We're talking about the descendants of Cain. I know he spells it with a C and they spell it with a K, but I promise you it's the same people. And Moses' father-in-law, you know, remember the guy that was doing all the yapping in his ear and leading him astray and giving him all kinds of bad advice? Same guy. Went up out of the city of palm trees with the children of Judah into the wilderness of Judah, which lieth in the south of Arad, and they went and dwelt among the people. And Judah went with Simeon, his brother, and they slew the Canaanites, not the Kenites, that inhabited Zephath, and utterly destroyed it. And the name of the city was called Hormah. Also Judah took Gaza with the coast thereof, and Askelon with the coast thereof, and Ekron with the coast thereof. And the Lord was with Judah, as he always has been and always will continue to be. And he drave out the inhabitants of the mountain. Drave? Wouldn't that be drove? Can you not speak English? I don't think so. They're speaking Hebrew, but still. But could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley because they had chariots of iron. Well, they were a little more advanced there in the valley. They had a lot of flat land to work with, so they could get a little more done. You understand? And they gave Hebron unto Caleb, and Moses said, and he expelled thence the 3 sons of Anak. Now this is Anak, or the Anunnaki, as it were. If you're wondering who those people are, they're the sons of Anak, the Anunnaki. Also sometimes referred to in the Bible as Anakim, which is plural for sons of Anak. And the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites. That's where they came from. That inhabited Jerusalem. But the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem to this day. They're still there. They never went anywhere. That's where you get the Jebusites from. You know, the self-flagellating and all that stuff. That's them guys. Bad people. But they're still there, and they still interfere. And the house of Joseph, they also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. Pretty much, if you're of the 12 tribes and you go into battle, if directed by God, then God will be with them, and they always win. Anytime they take it upon themselves to go and try to defeat a people that God doesn't intend them to defeat, they lose every single time. You have to have God's blessing if you're going to go into battle. This is something that we have forgotten as a country, which is why we've had poor luck with our battles of the last few times, because God did not ordain it. Now, we have in recent memory had battles that God did ordain, such as World War II, where we broke the back of communism. You have to understand, that was a necessary war. Vietnam, however, was not so much. That was over property and oil and leadership and things like that, things that God doesn't care about. Therefore, when men took it upon themselves to take a land from a poorer people, they with sticks and rocks tore our tails up, because they were defending something. We were the oppressor in that situation, and we got beat. And God's sitting up there shaking his head going, you should have listened. That's just the way it is, though. And the house of Joseph sent to decry Bethel. Now the name of the city before was Luz. We've mentioned that name a couple times before, but it's Bethel, same area. And the spies saw a man come forth out of the city, and they said unto him, show us, we pray thee, the entrance into the city, and we will show thee mercy. Just tell us how to get in, and we won't kill you. Seems like a fair deal. And when he showed them the entrance into the city, they smote the city with the edge of the sword, but they let go the man and all his family. Well, at least they're men of their word. That's good. That's something. And the man went into the land of the Hittites and built a city, and called the name thereof Luz, which is the Bethel, what we're talking about, which is the name thereof unto this day. Neither did Manasseh drive out the inhabitants of the Bethshean in her towns, nor Tanakh in her towns, nor the inhabitants of Dor and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Ablim and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo and her towns. Now that place, Megiddo, I want you to remember that name. That's an important name, and we're going to come across that name later, and it's going to have a very significant purpose in God's plan. Megiddo it's a valley, and in that valley is going to be a war where armies from both sides are going to come together in that valley, from several different sides, but mainly the U.S. and China, and possibly Russia. I think China and Russia are going to team up at some point and come against the U.S. And when we come to battle, we're going to come together in that valley, Megiddo, and that's where God's going to say, I've had enough. Now let me do some fighting. And not one man is going to raise arm against another man, because God is going to fight that battle. And it's going to be over in minutes. You're going to see the majesty of the firepower of God in those days. And you're going to see something awesome. So pay attention to Megiddo. That's a very important location. And her towns. But the Canaanites would dwell in that land. And it came to pass, when Israel was strong, that they put the Canaanites to tribute, meaning they required them to pay homage or to do something significant as tribute to their leaders, and did not utterly drive them out. Instead, they converted them kind of into slave labor or indentured servants. Neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites that dwelt in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwelt in Gezer among them. They kind of intermingled. Now, there's a reason for this. Because back in the old days, when God sent Israel to take the land and drive out the Canaanites, they stumbled. They did a few things that were bad. We covered that in books past, the last 2 books, and last 3 books. And they did a few things that God didn't want them to do, and they made God mad. And because of that, they were not successful in completely driving out the Canaanites. Had they done what God told them to do, they would have cleared that land immediately, and there'd be no more problems. But because of their stumbling and because of their pigheadedness, to this very day, those Canaanitish people will always be a problem to Israel. It always has been, it always will be, and it's their fault, and they deserve it, so we shouldn't interfere with it. Neither did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Kitron, nor the inhabitants of Naalol, but the Canaanites dwelt among them and became tributaries, or indentured servants. Neither did Asher drive out the inhabitants of Akko, nor the inhabitants of Zidon, nor of Ahlab, nor of Achzib, nor of Helba, nor Aphik, nor Rehob. But the Asherites dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, for they did not drive them out. Well, you had your chance, that's all I can say. God told you what to do, and you chose not to do it the way he said do it, so now you have to deal with it. Neither did Naphtali drive out the inhabitants of Beth-Shemesh, nor the inhabitants of Bethanath, but he dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land. Nevertheless, the inhabitants of Beth-Shemesh and Bethanath became tributaries unto them, or indentured servants. And the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountain, for they would not suffer them to come down to the valley. They got them up there and they couldn't get down. That's pretty rough. But the Amorites would dwell in Mount Heres, in Ajalon, and in Shalbim. Yet the hand of the house of Joseph prevailed. They didn't exactly get rid of them, but they did manage to win the battle, so that they became tributaries or indentured servants. And the coast of the Amorites was from the going up to Akrabim, from the rock up and upwards. I don't know exactly where the rock is, but it's in Akrabim. And the angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochum and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. Now, notice this is the angel of the Lord speaking. That would be Gabriel, the archangel, who always speaks for God. I think every time any man has ever heard God's voice, it was coming out of Gabriel's mouth. I can't swear to that, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it works, because he has the face of God. He is the voice of God. So when you hear an angel of the Lord, it's Gabriel when he's talking for God, because he's using the tense I, meaning he's speaking for God, saying, God said, I said this. I will never break my covenant with you. And ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Nope. Seems like when it comes to false gods, man always stumbles. Why is that? Are you so convinced that a stick or a rock can give you something that Almighty God cannot? Why is it that you just get all baffled when it comes to false deities? You don't need that mess, and they don't need it either. If you take over the land because God told you to, get rid of those things. You don't need them in your coasts at all. Why have ye done this? Asks God. Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you, because you won't get rid of them. So now you have to deal with all of these people, all of these Canaanites and so forth, and some places the Amorites, because you didn't do it the way I told you to do it. I told you to leave their gods alone. Don't have anything to do with these people. Don't ingratiate yourself into their culture. Don't allow their ideas to seep into your mind. You have a tribe, stick with it. Stop trying to bring other cultures into your life. It's okay to learn about other cultures. It's not okay to ingratiate yourself into them. Remember that. You have a culture, be proud of it. That goes for everyone, not just these people. And if you do it, these people will always be a thorn in your side and be a snare unto you. And so will their false gods, lowercase g, as you noticed. And it came to pass, when the angel of the Lord spake these words unto all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. Oh God, we screwed up. Please don't punish us. You've heard this time and time again, and so is God, and he's sick of it. That's why he told them, look, you asked for it, so you're going to get it. I didn't break my word, you did. And they called the name of the place Bochum, and they sacrificed there unto the Lord. Not going to help. God's pretty solid in what he says. And when Joshua had let the people go, the children of Israel went every man unto his inheritance to possess the land. Now, you know that Joshua has already died, so this is clearly a flashback to before he died. This is when Moses was still alive and right afterwards. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he did for Israel. And he did quite a lot. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, and being 110 years old. So we're right back to his death again. and they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-heres in Mount Ephraim on the north side of the hill Gash. And also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers, and there arose another generation after them, and so forth and so on until now, which knew not the Lord, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. It's funny how one generation you can forget all that stuff. We're kind of experiencing that now in reality. Our next generation seems to not know a thing about the world. It's like they all think time started in the year 2000. Hence the word millennial. And these are not even millennials. These are Gen Z, which is the next generation. And they seem to be completely ignorant of everything that went before them. All of the sacrifices, all of the thing this country means, the thing the flag means, the thing authority means. They seem to not know any of it. And it would probably be due to our school system for teaching them false things or not teaching them certain things that would cause them to be that way. But they are that way, and I fear greatly for their generation to come, hoping that they come to some common sense and take it upon themselves to look into some things. And if they can learn, if they can be quick enough and understand the sacrifices their forefathers made so that they could be who they are, there might be hope. Otherwise, we're in a downward spiral, friends. Be aware of that. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. Well, there goes the cake. And served Balaam, which is a false god. And they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods, of the gods of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Lord to anger. You think one generation after all that God had done to get those people out of Egypt and to freedom and to have their own land and set them up as a people in places they didn't, in cities they didn't build, and in homes they didn't build, and reap the benefits of things they didn't work for. God did all of that for them, and in one generation they forgot all about God and now are serving false gods. You betcha the Lord is kindled to anger. It's a wonder he doesn't destroy the lot of them. They deserve it. And they forsook the Lord and served Baal and Ashtaroth, which is another false god. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them. And he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. They lost the ability to win battles because they turned against God. God propped them up. It was nothing that they did. This is a thing that the people of this generation don't seem to understand. Your good fortune has nothing to do with what you've done or how good you are or what you've accomplished. You are not the captain of the ship, as it were. You're the captain of your ship, but the bigger ship at large is God, and he propped you up. And now you show your appreciation by turning your face against him, turning your back to him. That's not what you should do, friends. Family, strangers. You should look up every now and then. You should thank your Father for the blessings you have. You should count those blessings. And if you do that, you'll probably have a much better life. Try it and see. What have you got to lose? Whithersoever they went out, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord had said, and as the Lord had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Oh, it's terrible that they're so oppressed and distressed. God told you that if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. You chose this, so don't whine about it. Nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges, probably against his better judgment, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. And yet they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went a whoring after other gods, and bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of the Lord. But they did not so. That's a terrible thing. You try to teach your kids right. You try to guide them and lead them in a direction that will be beneficial to them, and they just do whatever they want to do. And when the Lord raised them up judges, then the Lord was with the judge and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies. All the days of the judge, for it repented the Lord because of their groanings by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. And it came to pass, when the judge was dead, that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers, in following other gods to serve them and bow down unto them. They ceased not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn ways. You see, that's why there's evil in the world. I get so tired of atheists tell me, well, if God's so good, why does he let so many bad things happen? Why is there such and such? Why does this happen? Because of your stubborn ways. Because of you not ceasing to do your own thing. God told you what to do in this book very clearly. You chose to break his covenant, not him. And that stubborn, stiff-necked, pig-headed way of yours is the very reason we have the issues we have. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he said, because that this people hath transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice, I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations. I'm done, he says, which Joshua left when he died. He left nations. Don't you see? When Joshua was here, he set up nations of people. And in one generation, they were gone. It amazes me how stubborn people can be. That through them I may prove Israel. That's all God ever wanted to do, was prove that he had a good people that he created. And they just would not allow it. Whether they will keep the way of the Lord to walk therein as their fathers did keep it, or not. And they chose or not. Therefore the Lord left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hand of Joshua. Now these are the nations which the Lord left, to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan. They had no idea. These younger people, they just live their lives and tear down statues and throw bricks through windows and catch things on fire and bitch about how oppressed they are. But they have never shed blood. They have never fought the wars their fathers fought so that they could be so free. They have no idea what it costs to be such little shits. They'll find out, though. Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war, at the least, such as before knew nothing thereof. Namely, 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and all the Sidonians, and the Hivites that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal-Hermon unto the entering of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites, and Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. That's where they came from. And they took their daughters to be wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their little tiny gods. Idiots, a lot of them. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgot the Lord their God, or forgat, which means forgot, and served Balaam in those groves. Take it from me, don't worship the things of the grove. Don't worship the things of sticks and stones. Don't worship the things that man says. Worship your Father who created you. Because if you do not, you got a long road to hoe, my friends. Therefore the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of, oh, come on, Cush-hen-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Cush-hen-Rishathaim 8 years. 8 years they were slaves under that man with the unpronounceable name. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, please save us from ourselves, the Lord raised up a deliverer of the children of Israel, who delivered them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. Sorry, my nose is itching. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel, and went out to war, and the Lord delivered Cush-hen-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand. And his hand prevailed against that guy. I'm not saying it again, I'm done. And the land had rest for 40 years. And Othniel, son of Kenaz, died. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. They just won't learn. They just keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. That's why God has washed his hands of the lot of us and won't participate anymore. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord strengthened Eglon, king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. You see, when you do good, God props you up. When you do bad, he causes you to fall. And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and possessed the city of palm trees. So the children of Israel served Eglon, king of Moab, 18 years, more servitude, from a people who should be free if they just listen. But they would not. God said, I would have gathered you under my wings as a hen does her chicks, but you would not. You just wouldn't listen. That's sad. That's one of the saddest verses in the Bible, as far as I know. But when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, 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 please save us, the Lord raised up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man left-handed. Now, you can't trust them left-handed people. They're thinking with their wrong mind. And by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, king of Moab. But Ehud made him a dagger which had 2 edges of a cubit length, and he did gird it under his raiment upon his right thigh. And he brought the present unto Eglon, king of Moab, and Eglon was a very fat man. Think of Jabba the Hutt here. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bare the present. But he himself turned again from the quarries that were by Gilgal, and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king. Who said, Keep silence. And all that stood by him went out from him. And Ehud came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor. It's kind of like a Florida room, in case you don't know, which he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. And he arose out of his seat. What? You have a message from God? What? And Ehud put forth his left hand and took the dagger from his right thigh and thrust it into his belly, left-handedly. And the haft also went after the blade. He put the whole thing in, all the way up to the hilt. And the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly, and the dirt came out. Ew, gross. And Ehud went forth through the porch, and shut the doors of the parlor upon him, and locked them. And when he was gone out, his servants came, and when they saw that, behold, the doors of the parlor were locked, they said, Surely he covereth his feet in his summer chamber. That's code for, bow chicka wow wow. You gotta watch out for those kings in their Florida rooms. Well, he's not covering his feet. He's in there dying with a dagger stuck in his fat. I wonder if it'll kill him, though. And they tarried till they were ashamed. Why were they ashamed? He was just covering his feet. And behold, he opened not the doors of the parlor. Therefore they took a key and opened them, and behold, their lord was fallen down dead on the earth. I guess it did kill him. And Ehud escaped while they tarried, and passed beyond the quarries, and escaped unto Serath. That's it, Serath. And it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim, and the children of Israel went down with him from the mountain, and he before them. In other words, he was leading the charge. And he said unto them, Follow after me, for the Lord hath delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. And they went down after him, and took the fords of Jordan toward Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over. And they slew of Moab at the time about 10,000 men, all lusty, all men of valor. And there escaped not a man. They got them all. That's how you do battle. Kill the king, cut off the head of the snake, and watch the rest wither. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel. And the land had rest 80 years. That's 20, 40, 60, 80 years. And after him was Shamgar, son of Anath, which slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad. And he also delivered Israel. I don't know what an ox goad is, but it sounds deadly. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, when Ehud was dead. So, as long as there's a champion forcing you to do right, you do right. But just as soon as nobody's looking, you do wrong again. Why is this so hard for you people to understand? Stop worshiping false gods. Stop it. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor. the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, O Lord, help us, we done bad again, we can't have it. You see how tiring this is? Imagine how God feels. He's been doing this for millennia. I've just been reading it for a few minutes and I'm sick of it. For he had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lebedoth, she judged Israel at the time. Isn't that weird? A woman? A judge? A prophetess? Yeah, you people who say the Bible is sexist, there's a lot of that going on. You're wrong. Stop with the talking points and read the Bible and you'll find out you're wrong. And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel and Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinom, out of Kadesh Naphtali, and said unto him, Hath not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw towards Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and the children of Zebulun? And I will draw unto thee the river Kishon, Sisera, and the captain of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand. And Barak said unto her, If thou wilt go with me, if you'll go with me, woman, I'm not going to fight that army unless you go with me, strong woman of the Bible, brave and diverse. I'm just saying. If thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. And she said, I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor. For the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. You see that? He sold Sisera into the hands of a woman. Apparently your patriarchy doesn't exist. Just saying. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up with 10,000 men at his feet. And Deborah went up with him. Now, Heber the Kenite, there's those Kenites again, which was of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, had severed himself from the Kenites, and pitched his tent unto the plain of Zanaim, which is by Kadesh. And they showed Sisera that Barak the son of Abinom was gone up to Mount Tabor, which is where he's supposed to go in the first place. So all checks out so far. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him, from Harosheth, of the Gentiles, unto the river of Kishon. And Deborah said unto Barak, Up, for this is the day in which the Lord hath delivered Sisera into thine hand. Get up, get off your butt. Is not the Lord gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men after him. And the Lord discomfited Sisera, and all his chariots, and all his host. Hey, CCC, last day's warning, we know, we're reading about it. Thank you and welcome. Press that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. The Lord discomforted Sisera, and all his chariots and all his host with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on foot. Not such a tough guy after all. He's running. But Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host unto Harosheth of the Gentiles. And all the host of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. Howbeit Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. For there was peace between Jabin the king of Hazor and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael went out to meet Sisera, and said unto him, Turn in, my lord, turn in to me, fear not. And when he had turned into her, into the tent, she covered him with a mantle. And he said unto her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. Well, I reckon so. You've been running like a chicken for the last hour. And she opened a bottle of milk and gave him to drink and covered him. She's comforting him. She's making him feel safe. Women are good at that. Pay attention to this woman, though. She's got plans. Again he said unto her, Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be, when any man doth come and inquire of thee, and say, Is there any man here? Thou shalt say, No. Hide me, he's saying. I'm terrified. Hide me from the enemy. And Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent, and took an hammer in her hand, and went softly unto him, and smote the nail into his temples, and fastened it into the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary, and so he died. And you see, that's a woman of power right there. She brought him in. She gave him milk. She covered him up. She rubbed him down. She made him feel safe. She told him she'd stand at the door and tell anybody that came by that nobody's here. Go on by. Made him feel comfortable. But she was the enemy of him. She's the good guy in this story, by the way. And while he laid there in her bed, a married woman, by the way, she took a nail and drove it through his freaking head. No more problems with that guy. And so that won the battle. And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him, and said unto him, Come, and I will show thee a man whom thou seekest. You know, the guy you're looking for, he's nailed to my floor right now. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temples and in the floor. So God subdued on that day Jabin the king of Canaan before the children of Israel. And the hand of the children of Israel prospered and prevailed against Jabin the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin king of Canaan. Well, that's what happens when you go up against God. You lose. It's a good lesson to learn. You should know better. Stay away from going against God. When he tells you to do something, you do it. When he asks for your worship, you give it. You bow your head and humble yourself, and you do what you're supposed to do, and you will have a prosperous, uplifted life. Go against God, and he'll be hot on your heels, I promise. Then sang Deborah and Barak the son of Abinoam on that day, saying, Praise ye the Lord for the avenging of Israel, when the people willingly offered themselves. Amen. Hear, O ye kings, give ear, O ye princes. I, even I, will sing unto the Lord. I will sing praise to the Lord God of Israel. Don't worry about it. You sit there on your butt and just wait. I'll do it. I'll show you what you're supposed to do. Lord, when thou wentest out of Seir, when thou marchest out of the field of Edom, the earth trembled, and the heavens dropped, and the clouds also dropped water. The mountains melted from before the Lord, even that Sinai from before the Lord God of Israel. In the days of Shamgar, the son of Anath, in the days of Jael, the highways were unoccupied, and the travelers walked through byways. The inhabitants of the villages ceased. They ceased in Israel until that I, Deborah, arose, and that I arose a mother in Israel, a strong, powerful woman for God. Don't ever forget it. They chose new gods, lowercase g. Then war was in the gates. Was there a shield or a spear seen among 40,000 in Israel? My heart is towards the governors of Israel that offered themselves willingly among the people. Bless ye the Lord. Hey, Diego, what's happening, my friend? Glad to see you, buddy. Speak, ye that ride on white asses, ye that sit in judgment and walk by the way. They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of all his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of the Lord go down out of the gates. Awake, awake, Deborah, awake, awake. Utter a song, arise, Barak, and lead thy captivity captive, thou son of Abinoam. Just back from my grandmother's house from dinner. Ooh, that sounds good. Grandma always cooks good food. Had some physical food. I'm dying to hear about that in just a few minutes. Then he made him that remaineth have dominion over the nobles among the people. The Lord made me have dominion over the mighty. Out of Ephraim was there a root of them against Amalek. That's a group of people, a small group of people that came out of Ephraim against Amalek. After thee, Benjamin among thy people, out of Machir came down governors, out of Zebulun, they that handle the pen of the writer. Those are the scribes, the people that keep record of everything. And the princes of Issachar were with Deborah, even Issachar, and also Barak. He was sent on foot into the valley. For the divisions of Reuben, there were great thoughts of heart. They had the heart, they just didn't have the desire. Why abodest thou among the sheepfolds, to hear the bleatings of the flocks? For the divisions of Reuben, there were great searchings of heart. They're looking for the right thing. Now I need some spiritual food, the Word of God. I'm laying it down as hard as I can, my brother. Gilead abode beyond Jordan. And why did Dan remain in ships? Asher continued on the seashore and abode in his breeches. Zebulun and Naphtali were a people that jeopardized. I think it's jeopardized, but they said jeoparded. Were a people that jeoparded their lives unto the death in the high places of the field. The kings came and fought. Then fought the kings of Canaan and Tanakh by the waters of Megiddo. There's that valley again. Pay close attention to that valley. That's a very important place. They took no gain of money. They fought from heaven. The stars in their courses fought against Sisera. The river of Kishon swept them away. That ancient river, the river Kishon. O my soul, thou hast trodden down strength. Then were the horse hooves broken by the means of the prancings and the prancings of their mighty ones. In other words, they rode their horses to death. Prancings is how a horse trots. He prances. Curse ye, Meroz, said the angel of the Lord. Curse ye bitterly the inhabitants thereof, because they came not to help of the Lord, to the help of the Lord against the mighty. Blessed above women shall Jael the wife of Heber the Kenite be. Blessed shall she above women in the tent. He asked water, she gave him milk. She brought forth butter in a lordy dish. She put her hand to the nail, and her right hand to the workman's hammer. And with the hammer she smote Sisera, and she smote off his head, when she had pierced and stricken through his temples. At her feet he bowed, he fell, he lay down. At her feet he bowed, he fell. Where he bowed, there he fell down dead. What a great song. The mother of Sisera looked out at a window and cried through the lattice, why is his chariot so long in coming? Why tarry the wheels of his chariot? Her wise ladies answered her, yea, she returneth, answered to herself. Have ye not sped? Have ye not divided the prey? To every man a damsel or two? To Sisera a prey of divers colors, a prey of divers colors of needlework, of divers colors of needlework on both sides, meat for the necks of them that take the spoil. So let all thine enemies perish, O Lord, but let them that love him be as the sun when he goeth forth in his might. That's it. High noon, that's when the sun is the strongest. And the land had rest for 40 years. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. And because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made them dens, which are in the mountains, and caves, and strongholds. And so it was, when Israel had sown, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites, and the children of the east, even they came up against them. And they encamped against them, and destroyed them, destroyed the increase of the earth, till thou come unto Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel. They didn't have nothing to eat, because they destroyed it all. Neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass. They left them nothing. For they came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for multitude. For both they and their camels were without number, as many of them, too many to count. And they entered into the land to destroy it. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, O Lord, help us, help us. They keep doing that. They keep screwing up and then crying to God, and God comes in and saves them, and then they screw up again. It's like a vicious cycle. It never stops. I've only been reading about it for about an hour, and I'm sick of it. God's been listening to it for millennia. I can only imagine how he feels. Straighten up, thou sluggard, thou stiff-necked people. And Israel, I read that. And it came to pass, when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet unto the children of Israel, which said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt, and brought you forth out of the house of bondage, and I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all that oppressed you, and drave them out from before you, and gave you their land. And I said unto you, I am the Lord your God. Fear not the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But ye have not obeyed my voice. And there came an angel of the Lord, that's Gabriel the archangel, and sat under an oak which was in Ophrah. You know, it's a television show where she gives away cars. That pertaineth unto Joash, the Abizarite, and his son Gideon, threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. You know, the Midianites were destroying everything. They were taking everything. So this winepress, he was trying to keep secret, keep it away from them. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us? If God's such a good God, then why does he let so many bad things happen, says all the atheists? Because of your ignorance, because of your disobedience. That's why. This whole book is full of it. And where be all his miracles, which our fathers told us of, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord hath forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. All I can think of is in those days there shall come scoffers who are willingly ignorant of the flood and the second coming and the creation. And the Lord looked upon him and said, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee? And he said unto him, O my Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least of my father's house. I don't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of it. How am I going to save Israel? Because God sent you to save Israel. That's how. And the Lord said unto him, Surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. And he said unto him, If now I have found grace in thy sight, then show me a sign that thou talkest with me. I guess him hearing him wasn't enough of a sign. Depart not hence, I pray thee. Don't leave me now, Lord, until I come unto thee and bring forth my present, and set it before thee. And he said, I will tarry until thou come again. And Gideon went in and made ready a kid and unleavened cakes of an ephah of flour. An ephah is a container. The flesh he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot, and brought it out unto him under the oak, and presented it. And the angel of God said unto him, Take the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and lay them upon this rock, and pour out the broth. And he did so. And the angel of the Lord put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the flesh and the unleavened cakes. And there rose up a fire out of the rock, and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes. Then the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. Amazing. If I saw that, I would definitely pause. And when Gideon perceived that he was an angel of the Lord, Gideon said, Alas, O Lord God, for because I have seen an angel of the Lord face to face. Yeah. And the Lord said unto him, Peace be unto thee, fear not, thou shalt not die. Then Gideon built an altar there unto the Lord, and called it Jehovah Shalom, which means God's peace, or peace be with God. Unto this day it is yet in Ophrah of the Abizarites. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, Take thy father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that thy father hath, and cut down the grove that is by it, and build an altar unto the Lord thy God upon the top of this rock, in the ordered place. And take the second bullock, and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the grove which thou shalt cut down. In other words, burn the offering you're giving to me with the false gods that you take away from them. Burn that stuff and sacrifice it to me." Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants, and did as the Lord hath said unto him. And so it was, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city, that he could not do it by day, that he did it by night. Doesn't matter when you do it, as long as you do it. God tells you to do something, you get her done. And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal was cast down, and the grove was cut down that was by it, and the second bullock was offered upon the altar that was built. And they said to one another, "Who hath done this thing?" And when they inquired and asked, they said, "Gideon, the son of Joash, hath done this thing." And the men of the city said unto Joash, "Bring out thy son, that he may die, because he hath cast down the altar of Baal, and because he hath cut down the grove that was by it." And Joash said unto all that stood against him, "Will ye plead for Baal? Will ye save him? He that will plead for him, let him be put to death, whilst it is yet morning. If he be a god, let him plead for himself, because one hath cast down his altar." It's a pretty serious charge. Pay attention. Therefore on that day he called him Jerubbaal. Jerubbaal, saying, "Let Baal plead against him, because he hath thrown down his altar." Then all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the children of the east were gathered together, and went over and pitched in the valley of Jezreel. But the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, and Abiezer was gathered after him. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, who also was gathered after him. And he sent messengers unto Asher, and unto Zebulun, and unto Naphtali, and they came up to meet them. And Gideon said unto God, "If thou wilt save Israel by mine hand, as thou hast said, behold, I will put a fleece of wool in the floor, and if the dew be on the fleece only, and it be dry upon all the earth beside, then shall I know that thou wilt save Israel by mine hand, as thou hast said." And it was so, for he rose up early in the morrow, and thrust the fleece together, and wringed the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. And Gideon said unto God, "Let not thine anger be hot against me, and I will speak but this once. Let me prove, I pray thee, but this once with the fleece. Let it now be dry upon the fleece, and upon all the ground let there be dew." See, he's testing God. Twice he did it. And God did so that night, for it was dry upon the fleece only, and there was dew on all the ground. Then Jerubbaal, who was in Gideon, and all the people that were with him, rose up early and pitched beside the well of Herod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them, by the hill of Moreh, in the valley. And the Lord said unto Gideon, "The people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, Mine own hand hath saved me. Now therefore go to, proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, Whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead." And there returned of the people 22,000, and there remained 10,000. That's more like it. That's more Godspeed. Had to cull the herd a little bit. There's too many folks laying around. And the Lord said unto Gideon, "The people are yet too many. Bring them down unto the water, and I will try them for thee there. In other words, I will get rid of the rest of the cowards. There's still too many people for this battle. I want to show you something here. And it shall be that of whom I say unto thee, this shall go with thee, the same shall go with thee. And of whomsoever I say unto thee, this shall not go with thee, the same shall not go. So he brought down the people under the water, and the Lord said unto Gideon, every one that lappeth of the water with his tongue, as a dog lappeth, him shalt thou set by himself. Likewise, every one that boweth down upon his knees to drink, the number of them that lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, like drinking this way, were 300 men. But all the rest of the people bowed down with their knees to drink the water. And the Lord said unto Gideon, by the 300 men that lapped will I save you. So he cut a multitude of people down to 10,000 people, and then he cut that 10,000 down to 300. This dude's probably thinking, oh my God, you're going to leave me with no army. God has a way of showing people things. And with 300 men, he will save him and deliver the Midianites into the hands, into thine hands, and let all the other people go, every man unto his place. Now, the Midianites are a big army. They are impressive. They are terrifying. When they walk, the earth trembles. There's a lot of them. And 300 little ragtag army is going to tear them apart because God wills it so. So the people took victuals in their hands and their trumpets, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man unto his tent, and retained those 300 men. And the host of Midian was beneath him in the valley. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, arise, get thee down unto the host, for I have delivered it into thine hand. But if thou fear to go down, go thou with Purah, thy servant, down to the host, and thou shalt hear what they say. And afterwards shall thine hands be strengthened to go down unto the host. Then went he down with Purah, his servant, unto the outside of the armed men that were in the host. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like grasshoppers for multitude. There were thousands of them. And their camels were without number. There were so many you couldn't count them all. As the sand by the seaside for multitude. There were that many, like as many grains of sand in the ocean. On a beach. And when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow, and said, behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came unto a tent, and smote it, that it fell, and overturned it, that the tent lay along, and it just laid on the ground. And his fellow answered and said, this is nothing else, save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel, for into his hand hath God delivered Midian and all the host. And it was so, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation thereof, that he worshipped, and returned into the host of Israel, and said, arise, for the Lord hath delivered into your hands the host of Midian. And he delivered the 300 men, and he divided the 300 men into 3 companies. That's 100 here, 100 here, and 100 there. And he put a trumpet in every man's hand with empty pitchers and lamps within the pitchers, I guess so that they could see at night. And he said unto them, look on me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outside of the camp, it shall be that as I do, so shall ye do. In other words, follow me. Do everything I do. When I blow with a trumpet, I and all that are with me, then blow ye the trumpets also on every side of all the camp, and say, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. So Gideon and the 100 men that were with him came unto the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch. That's like probably around midnight. And they had but newly set the watch. It just started. That shift just started. And they blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers that were in their hands. And the 3 companies blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers, and held the lamps in their hands, in their left hands, and the trumpets in their right hands, to blow withal. And they cried, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And they stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran and cried and fled. It scared the bejesus out of them. They didn't know what was happening. And the 300 men blew the trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow, even throughout all the host. And the host fled to Bethshittah, and to Zererath, and to the border of Abel Mahola, unto Tabbath. And the man of Israel gathered themselves together out of Naphtali, and out of Asher, and out of Manasseh, and pursued after the Midianites. And Gideon sent messengers throughout all Mount Ephraim, saying, come down against the Midianites, and take before them the waters unto Bethbara and Jordan. Then all the men of Ephraim gathered themselves together, and took the waters unto Bethbara and Jordan. And they took 2 princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeeb. And they slew Oreb upon the rock Oreb, and Zeeb they slew at the winepress of Zeeb, and pursued Midian, and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeeb to Gideon on the other side of Jordan. And the men of Ephraim said unto him, why hast thou served us thus, that thou castest us not, that thou callest us not. Man, I'm getting hard of reading here. In my old age, I can't see anymore. When thou wentest to fight with the Midianites, why didn't you call us? What's going on? Have we offended you in some way? What's the deal here? Why didn't you call us? Well, I didn't need you. I had 300 guys, and God didn't need any more men. And they did chide with him sharply. In other words, they were angry that they didn't get to get any of that action. And he said unto them, what have I done now in comparison of you? Is not the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? God hath delivered into your hands the princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeeb. And what was I able to do in comparison of you? Then their anger was abated towards him. I guess if you put it that way, can't stay mad at you. It's better to drink wine than to fight. Okay, we're good. When he had said all of that, they just chilled out. And Gideon came to Jordan and passed over, he and 300 men that were with him, faint, yet pursuing them. They were tired, but they pressed on. And he said unto the men of Succoth, give, I pray you, loaves of bread unto the people that follow me, for they be faint. And I am pursuing after Zebah and Zalmunna, kings of Midian. And the princes of Succoth said, are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in thine hand, that we should give bread unto thine army? And Gideon said, therefore, when the Lord hath delivered Zebah and Zalmunna into mine hand, then I will tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness with briars. You better feed my army, or I'm going to beat your tail when I get these guys. And he went up thence to Penuel, and spake unto them likewise. And the men of Penuel answered him as the men of Succoth had answered him. In other words, they're not playing ball. They think that they're still in charge. So they're like, who are you that we should feed you? Have you won the war yet? No. Well, then we're not going to participate. Well, they're going to have it coming. And he spake also unto the men of Penuel, saying, when I come again in peace, I will break down this tower. Now, Zebah and Zalmunna were in Karkor, and their hosts with them, about 15,000 men, all that were left of all the host of the children of the east. For there fell 120,000 men that drew swords. And Gideon went up by the way of them, and dwelt in tents on the east of Nobah and Jogbehah, and smote the host, for the host was secure. And when Zebah and Zalmunna fled, he pursued after them, and took the 2 kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and discomfited all the host. And Gideon, the son of Joash, returned from battle before the sun was up, and caught a young man of the men of Succoth, and inquired of him. And he described unto him the princes of Succoth, and the elders thereof, even 70 men. And he came unto the men of Succoth, and said, behold, Zebah and Zalmunna, with whom ye did upbraid me, saying, are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in thine hand, that we should give bread unto thy men that are weary? And he took the elders of the city, and thorns of the wilderness, and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth. He taught them a lesson, all right. And he beat down the tower of Penuel, and slew the men of the city. Then said he unto Zebah and Zalmunna, what manner of men were they whom ye slew at Tabor? And they answered, as thou art. Your kind of man, that's who they were. So were they. Each one resembled the children of a king. And he said, they were my brethren, even the sons of my mother, as the Lord liveth. If ye had saved them alive, I would not slay you. And he said unto Jether, his firstborn, up, and slay them. But the youth drew not his sword, for he feared, because he was yet a youth. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said, rise thou, and fall upon us. For as the man is, so is his strength. And Gideon arose and slew Zebah and Zalmunna, and took away the ornaments that were on their camels' necks. And that's where we're going to stop for today. What a fantastic story. Man, that was powerful. I got to tell you, the book of Judges is proving to be a very good book. Won't you please take a moment and hit that subscribe button. Press the bell icon so you'll get notifications of when I'm going to be here. Smash that like button. Hit it hard like it owes you money. Right in the mouth. God knows it owes me some. Share this video with somebody you love. Better yet, share it with somebody you don't love. Bring them into the family. Make them part of the fold. Be part of their solutions, not part of their problems. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you're thinking. Question me, curse me, bless me, challenge me, confront me, conform with me. Hey, conform with yourself. As long as you're thinking critically with that gray matter between your ears, that's what I want. I want you thinking straight and clear. And if you appreciate this ministry and you love it and you'd like to be part of something special and you'd like to see us grow and get a little bigger and reach a few more people, won't you please take a moment and go to paypal.me/JakeJohnsonBand. Every little bit helps. It's a win-win, and it's a blessing for me. It's a blessing for you also, because God notices these things, and I greatly appreciate all your support, and thank you for it. And with that, I will take any of your questions and comments. How about that? What did you think of this book? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you find it familiar? Were you confused by it? Did it tickle your fancy? You tell me. I know there ain't many of you here, but pay attention. Wow. Kevin, Diego, I think you guys are it tonight. Slow Sunday. Oh, Kevin, I think you're it tonight. Really slow Sunday. Anyway, any questions or comments? You just let me know what you're thinking. I enjoyed the book, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow also. We're going to get into some New Testament. So bring some friends, call some people, say, hey, we need to get this up. We need to get 100 subscribers, and we're at 96 now. I'm so close I can taste it. But we need to get over that hump. So if you know anybody that wants to learn something or just enjoy a good podcast, bring them on this way, and let's see if we can't get it over that hump. Kevin says, I like old Gideon. He is a badass. Yes, he is. He was bad because he had God on his side. And it really don't matter how bad you are if you don't have God on your side. Even if you're a little imp, little wormy, little 4'7" imp, if God's on your side, you'll have victory. and Gideon had victory with his ragtag team of 300 men. Gideon the powerful, Gideon the wise, Gideon the... And he had courage. Yes, he did. Courage, strength, but most of all, God. So, April ain't coming on tonight, I'm guessing. That's unusual. I guess y'all don't love me anymore. But I love you, so that's all right. I'll wait. Have y'all had any problems with the viewing tonight? Did it come out clearly? Because I don't know. I don't know what this computer's doing. Right now it says it's excellent, so hopefully it stayed that way. No cutting out or anything like that. We're experiencing solar flares right now. I think that's what's affecting the internet so drastically. I just found that out yesterday, that the sun was pushing out some solar flares, and I think that might be why I had so much trouble on Friday keeping the stream going, and a little trouble when I got started today, but it seems like it's worked itself out. Wonder where old Diego went. Yeah, that's correct. Even though you have God behind you, it's still hard to do what he asks. Just Gideon and 300. Wow, yeah. Yeah, that was a interesting battle. But you understand, when he started out, there was like, I don't know, 20 or 30,000 of them. There was a bunch of them. Most of Israel came out when Gideon called. And God said, too many. We got to have less. So he culled them down to 10,000. There was 10,000 left. And he said, too many. Bring them down to the waterfront and see how they drink. And those that use their hand, pick them. Those that bend over and stick their face in the water, tell them to go home. And they ended up with just 300 people. It's God's plan all along. April is still out somewhere. Yeah, but she's usually on her phone. She's taken me to grocery stores before. Maybe she forgot. I hope she's all right. Send me a text and let me know when she gets home safely. I do not know either. Either way, though, when God sets it out to be done, it don't matter if there's 300 or 3. You're still gonna win. And the way they won was by startling the camp while they slept. They broke glass pitchers on the ground and freaked them all out with trumpets. Interesting tactic, but it seems like it worked because they all took off running. And there was a bunch of those guys too. They had so many camels you couldn't even count them all. And they were like grasshoppers out there on that valley. Lots and lots and lots of them. And 100 men strategically placed in 3 different locations scared them all and drove them out of that valley and put them on the run. And they probably did more damage to themselves than Gideon's folks did to them, just trying to get away from whatever it was they thought was after them. That's a good story. I can't wait to see what happens next. And it's also good information. You can apply that to things in your life when you feel outnumbered or outdone. It doesn't really matter as long as you have a strategic advantage. And with a little forethought and a little planning, you can do a whole lot with very few resources. All right, boys and girls, since nobody's really in the mood for talking tonight, I'm going to cut her short and go to bed. I got to get up and go to work in the morning anyway. Don't forget to...
VJ, now I lay me down.
I've been a good doggy.
Pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, VJ, my best friend. Right through it all, VJ.
That's right.
If I die before I wake, VJ.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I love you with all my heart. God bless you and your families, and thank you for taking care of me. And we'll see you tomorrow night, 8:30 sharp, with some New Testament. Should be lighter and more fun, but this was a pretty fun story too. Take care of yourselves and each other. Do God's bidding and always humble yourself. Don't try to be so big and boisterous all the time. Just let God lead you and your life will turn out just the way it should. Remember that and know that I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Peace out.